Hi everyone, I'm Rizal, also known as Deja, and today we're going to be starting another reading vlog. For this vlog, I'm hoping to focus on werewolves. I don't know why I have seen so many books by Black authors featuring werewolves, but I'm not mad at it. When Twilight came out, I was Team Vampire, but we'll see if any of these authors will turn me over to like the werewolf side. There's 4 books that I think that I'm going to focus on in this one. The first one is called Lone Wolf by Casey Mills, I think. And this one was just one that I checked out on Kindle Unlimited. It is less than 100 pages, so I'm hoping that by the end of this vacation I will be able to have that done. This will also be my first Casey Mills, and I've heard great things about this author, so I'm really hoping that I like it. Next one is going to be Exiled by Jessica Cage, and this one I don't think you can actually buy anymore. It has another name called Malcolm, which I think is the main character's name, but whenever I try to find this one on Amazon or anything, like I can't find it. But I bought this before it was taken down off of Amazon, so I don't know. But this is on my 23 books to read in 2023, and so I'm definitely hoping to like this one as well. The third book that I'm hoping to read is called Forsaken. I don't know how I heard about this one, but this one was definitely very intriguing for me. It wasn't even necessarily like the synopsis, but I tried like a sample of it, and I just really liked the chemistry right off the bat between the two characters. They were just like set up on this date, and they just, I don't know, I feel like they just clicked for me. So I'm really hoping that I enjoy this one as well. And then one of the last ones that I'm hoping to read in this one is Nothing But the Wolf by Nikki Clarke. I think this is one that I got from one of those free book sales. I'm not sure. I've heard about this author before. I don't know if I've heard necessarily good things or bad things, but I'm really hoping that I enjoy this one as well. But that will be the 4 books that I try to read in this vlog, and hopefully I find some good ones. Hey guys, as you can see, I am back home. I should have known that I wasn't going to do any reading on my vacation, but you know, one can be hopeful. I mean, I guess I did like read a little bit while I was in the car like driving back, but not a lot because I get like motion sickness in the car, so I can't usually read. But now that I am back, I actually have started Lone Wolf by Casey Mills, and I actually am enjoying this one. I wasn't really sure how I was going to do with this short story because in the beginning it did kind of do like a little bit of info dumping about like why she's running away and stuff, and I was just like, I feel like that could have been like told to us a little differently. Plus I feel like that's told in the summary of the book, but it was just that little bit. But now that the two protagonists have met, it's really getting like better to me. I feel like I really like the hero Lazar or something. Like I really like him, and I'm really I don't know like what it is about him that I really like. I just feel like he's just so like smooth and just like dominant, and I'm not even into that, but I guess I am now. But also he just sounds like really cute. So like this is a short story that I'm really enjoying right now. I don't think I really have any strong opinions about Joe yet. Like their bond right now is very erratic. Like they're both alphas, and I'm really surprised by like how I am enjoying this one because it is kind of like a fated mates type of thing, and I usually like the story to build the romance between them, and I'm 28% into it right now, and right now it just feels like the actual like romance bond that they're gonna have is just going to be like a sexual one, which I'm not mad about because like I said, I am like enjoying like that aspect of it. But I definitely, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe because it is so short, like it's less than 100 pages, maybe that's why I'm okay with it. And I know that this is just going to be like a short story, erotic kind of thing. But I also kind of like how protective Laz is with her, even though like they just met. And I know it was just kind of like instant, like, yeah, this is my mate and all of that, which I'd be curious to see if in any of the other werewolf books I'm gonna read, if that's like a theme and like how I deal with that. But for now, I am enjoying this little short story and I'm going to keep reading it. Hey guys, so I finished Lone Wolf by Casey Mills, and I feel like I'm going to give that one like 3.5 stars. It was just a really short, quick read, even though it took me like 3-4 days to actually finish it. But still, like, just a quick, fun little read. I feel like it really did just focus on like the steamy scenes, which I guess I'm not mad about, but like the emotional connection wasn't really there for me. I feel like it got less steamy as like the book went on, because then it started to focus more on like the plot. So I think like their first like intimate scene was like probably the steamiest, and then it just kind of went like less detailed after that, which I'm not complaining about, but I feel like the author was trying to do maybe a little too much in this one. I feel like since it was only like 76 pages, and I feel like this was supposed to be kind of like an intro to another like world or whatever, or just an intro to like a new series or something. But I feel like since this was so short, I feel like it should have just been longer if that's what she was trying to do, because she introduces like all of these like interesting world things. Like there's vampires, like a vampire kind of like pact or something. And honestly, just the little details that I got about the vampires, I'd be super curious to know about like them as well. But of course, it was just like a little like tidbit about them. But even when we were introduced to the vampires, I feel like that scene in general just wasn't really needed, since this was such a short novella. Like I wasn't really sure like why that was added, except to maybe world build a little bit for future books. But again, like I don't think that impacted like this story, which is what I think my major problem is with this one, is that like it was setting up for future books, but like the things that it was trying to do in this book, I feel like it didn't really accomplish well. And I feel like the conflict wasn't really like a big conflict. The girl Jo is running away from her old pack leader Abe. I feel like that whole scene where it was just them resolving the issue of Abe and Jo or whatever, it was just kind of anticlimactic. But I feel like it was supposed to be, but it just wasn't, because I feel like there wasn't really like build up to it. And even then, I feel like there wasn't really like build up with Jo and Laz together. So I don't know, it was just kind of like lackluster, like thinking about it after a few days. But like it was a decent read. The way that it left off, I'd be very curious to know like when the next book is coming out, because I did have a good time. As I said, I just feel like it was just setting up for the future books that I'm more interested in. I did already start Exiled by Jessica Cage, and this one is not going that well. I feel like right now it's just very passive, and at first I thought that I was just reading like the summary, because the section that I first read wasn't actually a like, it didn't have a chapter or like a prologue heading or anything. But then when I got to chapter 1, and I was just still reading it, and technically I'm still on chapter 1 because I just stopped reading because I was just getting like super bored. But anyway, while I was reading that chapter, it was just like so passive. Like I don't even want to say it was like info dumping, but like I feel like it kind of was, but in like such a passive way. Like he's just detailing everything that happened with him and Serene, which we know from the summary of on the back of the book that she is no longer with him. And I don't know, everything just feels like he's recounting his story to us, and I'm not a big fan of that kind of like storytelling. So I'm hoping that that isn't like the entire book, and I'm hoping that he doesn't just like keep recounting everything that happened in the past and just moves to like a more active stance, because it sounds very interesting. Like from the summary that I found on her website, like it sounded like really interesting, but like what that was on the website is not what I feel like I'm getting. I feel like it also doesn't help that like I'm not connecting to any of the characters. So the main male character, Malcolm, he just kind of is this like strong hero who doesn't really have much depth to him. Like, he's attractive, like all of these girls want him, and I'll get to the girls in a minute, but like all these girls want him. He's super strong and all of that, but like there's really like nothing about him that I'm connecting with. Like, he's just kind of that, and that's it. And then you have the girls. So the first one is Mara, who is the vampire that he just kind of like gets intimate with sometimes, but he doesn't really like her. They just kind of have sex every once in a while. I mean, I guess she might be like the strongest character. I feel like her voice is more distinct than like the other ones. Stephanie, she gets to the point of view like sometimes. She's more so like a lover that like never happened because of X, Y, and Z reason. And then we have like the girl who's like the star of the show, who is Serenity or Serene or something. I don't remember this girl's name, but this is like the whole love interest that like he was so in love with that he was gonna leave his pack for. But she's not really in it that much. None of these girls are really in it that much, but I don't know. I just don't like the character dynamics between all of them, and I just don't really like the characters, and I'm thinking that's why I'm not really enjoying it. But I'm gonna finish this one because I cannot DNF 2 of the books that I have on my 23 books to read in 2023. So I hope that it gets better. I feel like the conflict is interesting. It's just the characters themselves I'm not really vibing with. So yeah. Guys, I decided to come on here and update you guys because I DNF'd Exiled by Jessica Cage. Even though I said I didn't want to DNF another book on my 23 books to read for 2023, I am just not into it, and I don't want to push myself through it. I made it 38% into it, but I'm just not interested. Like, I just don't care about the characters. I'm not really that invested in like the plot, and I just don't care. So I'm just like, I'm just not gonna finish it. I think I'm gonna move on to Nothing But the Wolf by Nikki, Clarke, or Forsaken, which I don't know who that author is. I'd have to like look that up, but I'm leaning more towards Forsaken because I really liked the beginning part of it that I've read a while ago. Plus I have that one checked out on Kindle Unlimited, so I really want to get to that one. So I'm thinking I'm going to read Forsaken, and hopefully this one goes better. I like the first one that I read, Lone Wolf by Casey Mills, but I don't know, the second one was just not it for me. And I will say that I am going to try more by this author because she's written so many books, and I feel like at least one of them is bound to be like a great book for me. Let me wrap this up because I am at work now, but yes, I just thought I'd check in. completely forgot to update this vlog. I have finished Forsaken, and I feel like I'm gonna rate it like 3 stars. I think that it started out strong, but then towards the end, I didn't really like the female main character. I feel like in the beginning, like, she seemed to have more of a personality, and then I think like towards the end, since she didn't really have any, not motivation, but like any drive towards like the other plot that was happening, like she kind of just got lost and became like the damsel in distress, which I'm not mad about, but like she really just became like this like trophy kind of person for the male main character, Ethan. And I don't know, like I really liked Ethan's part, but the thing with like the werewolf stuff that I'm really starting to like get is that most of them are like super protective, and since this other girl, oh my gosh, I don't know why I can't remember her name, probably because I didn't really like her towards the end, but either way, the girl main character that was Ethan's love interest was just not as strong of a character towards the end. And I think since like majority of the book felt like it was about like this external plot, she definitely did get lost towards the end. And I think it was fine in the beginning for like those two to have like their different perspectives, because it did seem to focus a little bit more on the romance between them. And I will say that the romance felt really insta love, which is another thing I'm noticing with these like wolf stories. I don't really like that. For these stories, I'm not really buying like the mates thing, and I'm feeling like I'm just not into it. And I feel like in this sense, like they were set up on a date, so they weren't technically mates at the beginning, but since then like they weren't really dating each other, so I don't think we really saw like the relationship build from there, because things just kept happening. And then when the female main character got harmed, Ethan was just like super protective, which I loved of course, but like he brought her to like a family home, and he's like super rich, so he has like this home that he like rents out to other people, but he brought her to like the home that he shares with like his brother and sister, but nobody stays there, and that's where we get our first intimate scene with them. And I feel like from there like they were just like together, and like I remember her saying that she was like super into like his protectiveness over her and stuff, but I don't know, I feel like it was just like a switch. At first it was like they both desired each other because they were both attractive people, which I'm like, okay, that's cool, but the actual romance part of it, I guess. I think that one would be like a 3-star. The first one that I read, the lone wolf one, is definitely my favorite, maybe because they were both alphas, and so like she wasn't really like the damsel, and even though like she did let him like protect her, like she was also very protective over him, so I think I like their dynamic more. But that one was just less than 100 pages, so it didn't really like build the relationship. But yeah, this one, Forsaken, definitely left off really disappointing. And I know that there's 3 other books in this series, and I'm not sure how or if I want to read them, because of the fact that like I feel like the ending just got very meh. Like I didn't really know. I think I'm gonna pause this vlog for now though, since I am in the middle of like 3 other vlogs and I keep wanting to start new ones, but I really need to just like finish one. I really like doing vlogs, but the problem just becomes that it requires me to read, and lately I feel like I've been in like a reading slump, and a lot of these books are just not cutting it for me. Like they're fine books, but they're just not keeping my interest. And part of it is that I'm wondering if like the quality of these books are just not the best, but then I'm also thinking that like I'm struggling with like one of my favorite books that I rated 5 stars, and so I'm thinking that it's just like a reading slump, but I'm also a picky reader. But yeah, this vlog is gonna halt for now. I think I said I had like 2 other books that I wanted to read for this one. It was Nothing But the Wolf by Nikki, Clarke, and something else, but honestly those are probably subject to change, because I'm not trying to pressure myself to read books that I'm not really enjoying. And if I'm going to be honest, I don't think that this werewolf vlog will be like a super successful one, just because I'm feeling like the werewolf trope is not for me. Even when like Twilight was coming out, like I wasn't really into the werewolves in that one. I've always been more of a vampire paranormal romance person. But yeah, we will see if one of these books prove me wrong. But for now, I'm going to just pause this vlog for now. Alright, so I am back with the werewolf vlog. It was a nice break. I feel like it was like maybe like a month break or something, but it was a nice break. And so I have started my last book for this vlog, and that is Nothing But the Wolf in Me by Nikki Clarke, and I am enjoying this one actually. It starts off with this guy in his werewolf form. Like there was some kind of like tussle between like the pack leaders, and like he's harmed, but he has like a bullet in his side in his wolf form, and he knows he's gonna bleed out if he doesn't get it out, but he can't like shift to get it out and get help. And so like he's like running away from the people trying to harm him, and he comes upon this like cabin in the woods with like this woman in there, and he ends up like trying to get her to help him. And so she does, of course, and this is the love interest for the story. I just really like their dynamic together already, and they're not talking to each other, but like their internal monologue in regard to like the other character is what I'm really enjoying. Like the dog not the dog, the werewolf, he literally had to like leave the space because he was getting so turned on by her not even knowing that this is a full man or whatever, is literally like getting undressed in front of him, and he's just like liking her body and all of that. And so he literally had to leave and just like shift so he could like relieve himself, if you know what I mean. Then the woman, like she's just like, I don't do dogs, but she's like, you're cute or whatever. The werewolf pretending to be a dog, even though like her neighbor tells her that he's not a dog, he's a wolf, but she's just like, yeah, he's my dog. So I just really like it so far. And so I don't know how she's going to react whenever like he becomes like a man or whatever, but yeah, I am enjoying this one. And so I feel like this is going to be a good one to leave off the vlog with, but I am going to continue to read it. Alright, so it is finally time for me to wrap up this vlog, and so first I will begin with like my thoughts on Nothing But the Wolf in Me, and I think I'm going to give that one either 4 or 4.5 stars. And this one, I will say, is still my favorite out of all of the books that I've read for this vlog. This one, I think it's mainly because it did have like just a plot within it. Like it wasn't just a prequel to something. And I don't want to fault the other books for that, because I should have known, because it says that it is a prequel. So I shouldn't really compare them, but I guess for the sake of this vlog I'm going to compare them. But Nothing in the Wolf in Me, they have like kind of the same dynamic as the other characters. I think Forsaken is the only one that kind of had like a soft girl who was like the damsel in distress. Like all of the other two girls, which I'm forgetting the girl's name in Lone Wolf, which I'll put it on the screen of course, but Belina in Nothing But the Wolf in Me is actually pretty similar to the girl in Lone Wolf, and that they're both really protective of their mates, and the guys are super protective of them too. And the guy in Forsaken was actually really protective of her as well, and they're just really protective over women in general in Forsaken. And I don't know, I think that's really just like a werewolf kind of thing, the protectiveness. And I think that I actually like that about the werewolf like stories. And so I don't know, I might have to be like, and I think I actually like that protectiveness that all of the werewolf stories had from like the male characters. And even taking it a step further in Forsaken, with like all the women and children were just really protected like that. And in Nothing But the Wolf in Me, like they are like a protected community, like they stick together, and they just like hunt for each other and stuff like that. And all of the werewolves are black in Nothing But the Wolf in Me. And I think honestly, I think all of the wolves are black in all of the stories. And so it was just really nice to see. But getting specifically into my thoughts about Nothing But the Wolf in Me, I wanted to say that there was just one part that I just really did not like about the story that I think really spoiled my enjoyment of it towards the end. And if you don't want spoilers, I'll put the time on the screen, but I did want to like mention this because I don't know if anybody else is gonna have a problem with it. And so I think that what the author did to kind of make them like bonded together forever, just I don't know if I really like that part. And so basically they're having a lot of like intimate scenes with each other, and this is also before she even knows that he's a wolf. And so she meets him randomly, and they just kind of like hit it off. Like she just feels like desire and lust like towards him, and so they ended up mating with each other. But the thing is, like when they're mating with each other, like they end up making babies, so they make cubs. But I think my problem with this is that first the pregnancy goes like super fast, and so she doesn't really have time to process it and like knowing like what's going on before like she starts feeling like the baby's in like her stomach, because she has 3 of them, so she can hear and feel like their heartbeats and stuff, because like she's just changing a lot. And so that's one of the things. And then the second thing is, this is all before she really finds out that he's a werewolf, and they never really had like a discussion about who he is and if she even wants to be in this. And it's just kind of like a like we're destiny, like we're mates, like this isn't a choice for you kind of thing. And I'm just like, I'm not a big fan of that. And I know that's really common in werewolf stories, but I feel like the baby aspect really just did not work for me in that instance, because like you're putting like children in the way of that. And I'm just like, the other ones, like children weren't involved, where like they were mates, and yeah, they were kind of like, okay, like there's no choice in the matter and all of that, but it's also like it wasn't kind of sneaky, I guess. Like I just felt like Godwin, who is the male love interest, I feel like he was just really sneaky with getting her pregnant before even telling her that he was a wolf, or the puppy that she was watching. And I don't know, it just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And I also want to say that I feel like the ending might have been just a little bit too drawn out for me. I'm not sure what the author could have done to make it like shorter, but I was starting to lose a little bit of interest towards the end. And I don't know, we saw their happy ending and all of that, but like I don't know, I don't think I really cared about the external plot as much. And like it was hinted on like here and there, and you knew like that the bad guys were gonna come back, because it's not really that unpredictable. But I don't know, I just don't think that it was like such a strong ending, but I'm not sure how else it would have ended. Plus this was written like years ago, so it's whatever. But there were things that I really enjoyed about this book as well, and honestly that overtook like majority of like my bad taste things about Nothing But the Wolf in Me. And so I really enjoyed just the two characters. I felt like they were two very strong characters who were really just strong in who they are, and I really like the hints of like the past that Valina had that ended up coming at the end. And I just really liked Godwin and just his responsibility that he felt towards his like people. And I just really liked the people overall, like the werewolf clan that they have. I just really enjoyed that aspect. And also I was really enjoying the fact that this was taking place in like the winter, like they're in like a snowy little secluded area. And I'm just like, I really enjoyed that, because there's not a lot of Black fantasy paranormal things that I can say takes place in the winter. I feel like we usually get like desert things, and so the winter setting was just a very nice surprise. And yeah, I don't know, this was a very short read and I really enjoyed it. If I had to rank all three of these books, it would definitely be Nothing But the Wolf in Me on top, and then Lone Wolf, and then I would have to put Forsaken as last. And so yeah, that will wrap up this vlog. It was a very strong vlog, even though I had to take a break from the werewolf books, but I really did enjoy most of the reads that I had. I just wish some of them were a little bit more of a story, but all of them were great reads. And so I'm super happy that I was able to complete this and find some new authors to try out. So for question of the day, let's talk about just werewolf mythology in general. I think that all of these books were really creative in how they did werewolf mythology, and I will say that my favorite will probably be Nothing But the Wolf in Me, but I think the reason why is because they actually tied it back to their ancestors in Africa. So these werewolf shifters in the Nothing But the Wolf in Me book, like they actually were hyenas when they were shifting. They were carried across the Middle Passage, and they were shifters then, but they shifted into hyenas, and they adapted to shift into wolves because hyenas stood out a lot more into the States. And so I just really thought that was a really interesting way to do their mythology. So I guess like my question is like, what are some books that had some interesting werewolf mythology that you've read about, or even just, are you a werewolf like what kind of girl? Like I never thought that I would say that I am, but maybe it's just because I haven't been reading the right werewolf shifter books. And so I think that I'm actually a fan of werewolf books now. But if you would not like to leave a comment about any werewolf shifter books that you have read, just leave a wolf emoji, or maybe just a dog, since I don't know. And Nothing But the Wolf in Me, she calls the wolf puppy because I don't know, it's adorable. But just a wolf emoji or a dog emoji. And yeah, I guess I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.